Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. We want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS who have taught us this word and teach us this word today. And we want to give a salutation unto the hopeful elect scattered across the four corners of this earth. This is, the brothers from the GMS Nebraska camp. In this lesson, what we want to get into is, going into this recent uh pact agreement, joint operation, whatever you want to call it, with between the US and Israel, which is a bill that was recently signed. Baba Gashak, can somebody look up and get the official name of the bill? Um, it's a bill that's been signed where it hasn't come into law yet. It's not official, but 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, it's going to become official. Um, and what it's basically doing is that between the US and Israel, they are when it comes to technology, when it comes to industry, their war technology, they're coming they're basically joining together to share things with each other. The US is using Israeli technology, Israel is using US technology. We can get the name of it and then I'll grab this, which is getting more into like the specifics of it.
Con, I got it pulled up here. It says the legislative provisions expanding defense technology integration between the US and Israeli militaries are included in the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2027, specifically under Section 219.
And this is there's a lot of discourse around it because what people initially thought was that this was going to be merging the US and Israeli militaries together into one, which is not what it's doing. This isn't a thing to where we're about to see, Israeli soldiers in the US or vice versa, where but the thing is, this is it's showing the U America's allegiance to Israel. Because up to this point, we've seen how closely tied America has been to Israel, especially in their war efforts in the Middle East right now, the so-called Middle East. And while they aren't officially merged together, we understand that America is just doing the bidding of Israel, you know. Um, but what specifically what this pact that they're doing, in this bill, it says it directs the U.S. Secretary of Defense to designate a Pentagon executive agent to coordinate, expand, and accelerate bilateral defense technology efforts with Israel. So their focus areas are research, development, testing, evaluation, and integration of technologies, industrial cooperation, joint ventures, licensing, and U.S.-based co-production, manufacturing partnerships. So it's basically like when it comes to like AI, when it comes to cyber warfare or like missile technology, the U.S. is going to be dealing with Israeli technology. You know, I don't have specifics of the specific weapons, but
I got you.
Khan
Um,
Babusha.
for the technology domains, it includes counter drone systems, missile and air defense, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, autonomous systems, and cyber warfare.
Khan. And like I said, we already seen this where you have like the Iron Dome. America uses its own form of the Iron Dome, calls it the Golden Dome. You got, there's another thing, um, like David Sling. These is all integrated things between America and Israel. And this bill is just making it uh more official and it's showing that they're going to integrate even further when it comes to this technology. And another thing about this bill that to point out is that unlike bills in the past where the US will make an agreement with a country to integrate technology or do something along these lines, there would be a time limit to the agreement to where every so often years they would come back to talks about it to see if they want to renew it. Like every 10 years or so. This is something that the US did with Britain at one point in time. But with what they're doing with Israel, there is no time limit. This is indefinite. So they're basically saying going forward, this is what we're doing. We're integrating our technologies. We're working we're working together, and we're setting aside over $1 billion in order to do this. And this is our plan for the future. And this shows, the US, this is their ally. If it wasn't obvious, this is making it even more obvious on who they're going with. And this is it leans into prophecy. Let's grab that Jeremiah chapter 50 about Kusha.
You know, so I'm looking at why the brothers are getting that. That bill says this bill is 1.15 trillion.
1.15 trillion.
Yeah, it says the House passed version of this 1.15 trillion defense package, which includes U.S. Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. That's a lot of bread, bro.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
That's more than the Stargate project.
Yeah. Yeah, the Stargate project was just 500 billion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that shows you how much Esau focuses on his gift of the sword. He's pouring all that money into war,
Yeah.
you know? That's
Hey,
crazy.
it's like I think you mentioned it earlier, they already have ties with Israel and they basically following their league, but now they even more deep in that trench.
That's right. Because what this does is that like I was watching Glenn Beck's video on it. Shout out to Glenn Beck. He broke it down fire. I ain't gonna lie. Um and he basically gave an analogy where he said this is like if you had a contractor come out to fix the piping in your house. And the way that he fixes it is that he uses his parts, he uses his infrastructure to fix your piping to where when you need it fixed again, for somebody else to come and do the work over what that contractor did, it would be very difficult for them to do it. So you basically have to call that contractor back because only he has those parts. So it's like when you have, Israeli missile or you have systems that's only built to operate from Israeli missiles, how are you going to call a EU nation and be like, "Hey, we need your missiles," because the thing that you have to launch those missiles don't work for for their missiles. You got to call Israel,
Mhm.
or whatever system that they're using for their AI or whatever the case. It's a one way thing. So it's
Mhm.
making it to where you have to keep going back to Israel, and it's really hard to unintegrate yourself. You
Yeah.
know.
It's like you playing poker and you put all chips in with Israel.
hmm
That's how they.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You let's get that Jeremiah chapter 50. You can go to verse 45.
Con.
I think that you got a retarded one?
Uh,
Yeah.
you said 40, right?
45.
45. All right, we have Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh that he hath taken against Babylon and his
Con
purpose.
and the modern day Babylon is speaking about America. America is Babylon the Great. What does Babylon mean? It's the land of confusion, and that's exactly what America is. Hey, before this lesson, we was talking about this Odyssey movie that came out. Where they got a transgender playing Achilles, and you looking at it, it's like this little frail dude that's really a woman. But the fact that you can even do all this, and you got women dressing as men, men dressing as women, and all this, that's just a small portion of the confusion of this place. All the different laws that differ from state to state, and you don't know what you can do in Arizona that you can't do in Nebraska. It's like that's confusion. It's
Hmm.
all type of different stuff. This is the land of confusion. This place is all over the place. But let's read on.
Come. And his purposes that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he should make their habitation desolate with them.
And it says the least of the flock is gonna draw them out. Now, who's the least of the flock? It's talking about the Amalekites. They are the smallest amongst the tribes of Esau. They are the least. They are the least. What's the word I'm looking for?
Um, least populated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is they're the least populated yet they're the most powerful. Yet they have the most sway in the earth. And um, we see that America is being dragged into the drama going on between Israel and Iran, Israel's enemies, because America is backing Israel. America is basically Israel's bodyguard, so to speak, or partner. So everything that Israel's getting into, America, you see America following right behind them, and not only is the least of the flock drawing out America, but these other nations in the earth they're going to draw these other nations out to war in that region as well. You know, we're going to see, before Iran got involved, when it was just Israel and Hamas, when it was just a Israel and Palestine situation, what did we say? Iran is going to get involved. And alas, it happened. What's going to happen next? We're going to see China get involved. We're going to see Russia get involved. And what's going to happen is that you're going to have nations getting involved that's going to be on one side. You're going to have nations getting involved that's on the other side. We're going to see America and the EU getting involved, and what there's going to be is World War III. And when you see America is making this agreement with Israel and they're giving them all this backing, the same way that America is going right behind Israel to fight, they're going to go down together too, because in World War III, there's going to be a lot of destruction that comes upon this earth, and it's going to end in nuclear destruction, but not the whole world. Different places are going to get hit, but the places that's going to get hit the worst is America and Israel. America is going to be completely destroyed. Israel is going to be completely destroyed, and we're going to get into that in the scriptures. Can you grab that Ezekiel 38? Baba Kashar, not you stay in the Jeremiah Baba Kashar Tazawan because we're about to read that next verse. But can
Come.
brother grab that Ezekiel 38 and
Come.
somebody else can grab the Isaiah 13. And while they grabbing that, you can read that verse 46 for Tazawan.
Okay.
Actually, Salakia, I'm sorry. We'll save that verse 46. We're about to read in a second.
All
We
right.
can get to Ezekiel first.
Ezekiel 38, verse 18. It says, "And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel,
So
saith the Lord."
it's saying God is going to come against the land of Israel. And who is God speaking about? It's talking about Russia. Now, um, again, like I said, Russia is going to be get involved in this war, and they're going to be um, the main opposition toward America and toward Israel in this conflict that we're about to see. You know, Now eventually, all the nations of the earth is going to turn against America. But before we get to that point, Russia is going to be the main opposition, and that's clear to see right now. This has been evident ever since the Cold War. It's always been the America and the Soviet Union, or the America and Russia, that's been the two most dominant powers. That eventually, it's like if in boxing, when you got two uh real good boxers in the same weight class, and they just knocking out all their opponents, and eventually them two is going to have to fight each other. And that's
Yeah.
how it is with America and Russia. And that's what the Cold War was all about. It was about who was going to have dominance in the earth, America or the Soviet Union. And for a while, it was looking like, back when the Cold War was popping, that it was going to end in nuclear war back then. And it almost did with the Cuban Missile Crisis. But the Lord, it was the Lord's will that it wasn't time for that nuclear destruction to happen at that time. And he's saving it for very soon. And these, coming years, months even.
Yeah. And I want to make a quick statement. Just off the heels of that precept that you brought out in Jeremiah. Just thinking about the least of the flock, drawing them in. Think like with all these ceasefires that America has made. Like there's a ceasefire I believe with Gaza that was made like last year, I think. And like not even fucking 12 hours later, Israel bombed them. You know what I'm saying? And Gaza, they're allies with Iran. Iran is allies with who? Like the brothers going into the Medes, which is Russia. So it's just the Lord building it up. I just wanted to mention that. You know,
Con. Yep. Yep. So let's read
Con,
on in that Ezekiel.
Baba Shah, could I bring a precept out?
Con, Baruch Shah.
You're just backing up what the brother said, how from the time of the Soviet Union being in power, you could see that split between America and Russia. This is Ezekiel 38, starting at verse 3. It says, "And say thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws."
And it says the Lord's gonna put hooks into Russia's jaws, and what that means is that the Lord is gonna drive them to a point of war, and like the scriptures say, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and he turneth it whithersoever the Lord wants it to turn. So the Lord's gonna have the leaders of Russia getting to a point to where, hey, we about to fight. Go ahead.
It says, "And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords."
And this is you have ancient language being used for what war looked like at the time. But what this looks like today, where you have those bucklers and shields and all the army men going forth, that's these army vehicles, that's these troops with their guns, that's these aircraft, and they're all going to be gathered together to fight. Is there more to that?
It goes into, it says, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them all of them with shield and helmet.
You can read on.
Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarma of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee.
Yep. And this is going into people who are going to be allied with Russia in this current in this coming war. You hear Persia, the modern day name for the Persians is the Iranians. When we see they active right now. There's different African countries being named. It said what Gomer and Togarma, which is Turkey. And Turkey has come out recently and they're saying that, they're gonna liberate Jerusalem. And that's not gonna be a peaceful thing. So it's showing that once this war starts to pop off, Russia's gonna be against Israel. Turkey gonna be along with them because Turkey ain't messing with Israel. You know, um, and outside of them nations that named, just say that many people with thee. So even nations that weren't named right there is gonna be with Russia, such as China, such as North Korea, you know. So that should be it to that. We can jump back down to where we was at.
Uh, Back in Ezekiel 38, verse 18, it says, "And it shall come to pass at the same time when Gog shall come against the land of Israel, saith the Lord Yahweh, that my fury shall come up in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel."
So what that shaking is going to result from uh is from the destruction of the missiles, from that immense power of those missiles, because like the scriptures say, it says the earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. When this nuclear war pops off, the the sheer power and destructive nature of these missiles. One is wiping out a city. One is lifting up, 12, 13-story buildings out of the ground like it's a tree to a tornado, you know? And that's how powerful these missiles is. So that explosive power, when you have so many of them raining down, that's why there's going to be that great shaking in that land.
Gone. And it actually goes into it as well. Verse
Con,
20.
con,
It's
let's see what the brother you call has something real fast.
I
gone.
just you said you quoted if you wanted to and fro.
Con,
If you
go
don't,
ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
it's Isaiah 24:20. It says, "The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and it shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again."
And so, because again, America and Israel is going to get it the worst, which we're going into right now, but
Mhm.
there's going to be other countries that's hit as well. And the whole earth is going to feel it. It's going to be an earthquake resulting from all this destruction, and this next verse and this Ezekiel is going to get into, describing what that's going to look like, specifically in Israel, but it's going to look like this in other places as well. Let's get into it.
Gone. This Ezekiel 38. Continuing on to verse 20, it says, "So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence, and the mountains shall be thrown down, and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground."
Name something else that has the power to do this, that's knocking down mountains, that's making the waters, shake and roar to where the fishes is falling out of it. And you know, other than an earthquake, of course, but what's going to cause an earthquake of that magnitude?
Hmm.
What's going to have to happen? The only things that is this powerful is a missile or the chariots of the Lord, and they both going to be active in that day, so
Like
so
Isaiah, the second chapter says, it says, just to add to that, that the Most High will come to shake terribly the earth. Just adding into that, to shake terribly the earth, bro. That's a terrifying statement.
mhm.
But but that's immense power. Think about it, like on the Fourth of July, which is bullshit. But you know, even with like people lighting these big ass fireworks, you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about these big explosive sticks of dynamite and stuff like that, and you get hella distance from it, boom, you feel the earth, you feel the ground move a little bit. Imagine with something that's with 1,000 times more power than that, much much more destructive. You know,
Yeah,
that's
'cause they
terrible, terrible sight. But you got it now.
yeah, because they say like when a missile explodes, you got the actual explosion from it that generates that heat, and that and incinerates things. But then you got the shock wave that comes after, to where you can be miles and miles away and get launched back because of just the shock wave from the explosion. You know, shattering buildings, shattering glass. Like that's why they build bunkers for this. To where that's the only way you're gonna get out the way. You need to be underground because anything above ground is cooked. And then even if you're in a bunker, and we about to get into it in this Isaiah 13 verse 17, a bunker ain't gonna save you from this coming destruction, because if you in a bunker, you're just gonna get microwaved with all this heat that's about to get g generated from these missiles. Now, in other countries, a bunker may help, but if you're in America and you in a bunker, you're cooked.
And hey,
You did.
yeah, and the Most High could even have some of those bunkers, like once those missiles hit, it could have some of those bunkers collapse on top of their ass, man. If
Hmm.
so man, you ain't gonna be able to hide.
Yeah.
You
The only way is if you just not in America, bro. Like
Right.
for these Edomites that's here, you know what I'm saying? Like Your best bet is just to leave America. And that's what these elites is going to do. These elites is going to be going to specific places in the earth that they have set aside for emergencies like this. Some of them going to be trying to leave the earth.
Hey, like that movie Elysium, I just watched that last night, you know? And all these scientific documentaries about space, they always talk about one day the Earth is going to be uninhabitable and we have to go to outer space and continue the human race out there. And it's like, because they know what's coming. And, you got to think about how many nuclear missiles are going to land here in America at once. All right. If we go into Revelation, the ninth chapter, it goes into 200 million, you know, and that's why this lady, Margarita, one of Russia's allies, Margarita Simonyan, she said that Russia could destroy America in 1 hour,
Yep.
you know?
And
So
that's
just all that power combined, man.
and that's very spiritual because the scriptures say that America is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. Let's get that Revelation 18. Baba Rasha.
Con 18 and
16.
16, con. Ooh.
And that 200 million that the brother was speaking about is talking about the warheads inside the missile because there's not 200 million nuclear missiles like as the full like the actual missile, but inside of the missiles you got multiple, you have warheads that you'll have like nine warheads inside of it. Some of them have more, some of them have less. But when you count those warheads and those number of missiles and multiply it, then you'll get into the millions of, the actual bombs, you know.
Con. Revelation 18 and 16, it says, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
Yeah, that's talking about America. That's that great city. Because with all the BS with America, all the poverty, all the, you know, the downtroddenness of it, America is known as the greatest country in the world by many. You know, uh, uh, you got the richest people here, even though from regular person to regular person, the regular working man is broke. But I'm talking like you talking like the richest people, like you got people with money here. You got, huge cities. You got, this is a place that has been known for its splendor, and even though um that image of America is going down as of recent years, for a while, America was seen as a haven. This was the place that people wanted to go and wanted to get. If you wanted to get out of your country, your dream was, man, I need to go to America. That's where I can go and get my life together. That's where, once I go, I'm gonna build some type of wealth for my family, coming after me. This was that place.
Yeah. I got a precept to back you up on that, brother.
Babu Shah.
Isaiah 47 and verse 1 says, Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon.
Hmm.
Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate.
Yeah, and because a lot of countries in the world has dealt with immense war, of some sort. Japan has gotten the worst, they got hit with two nukes. But then you got countries that's, you got Ukraine's in the world that's, dealing with war right now. The worst America has had to deal with, you know, for me to, paint the picture, America's dealt with the Civil War. America's dealt with a lot of like infighting, but never enemy troops coming to America and setting foot. America's never dealt with an attack from an outside force other than Pearl Harbor, you know? And there's theories about that. We don't gotta get into that right now. You know what I'm saying? But they saying Pearl Harbor was a form of was the first 9/11.
Yeah.
So America's never really dealt with being attacked and having to rebuild and like America has had it good for these 250 years it's been born. And that's why it's called that virgin daughter, you know?
Uh,
Con. Continuing on verse 17, it says, For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught,
Hmm.
And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off,
Yeah. And let's read 18 too.
and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city?
Yes, because um again, that is very spiritual that she said Russia can destroy America in 1 hour, which is true. It wouldn't take long at all. And the scriptures is telling you it's going to be within the span of an hour that these missiles are going to completely incinerate this place. And, you know, enemies and allies of America is going to be hurt when it happens because with all the fighting and all the disagreements and all the this and that happens on this earth, one thing that these places know is that they need America for trade. They need America to export their goods. America buys a lot of stuff from these different places. So when China sees America getting destroyed, they're gonna be like, "Hey, yo, we about to lose a lot of money." That's gonna be what's on their mind when they see when America is key to the global economy, and so once America is destroyed, that's gonna change everything. And that's why it's crazy because from wherever you're going to see the smoke rising. If you can see, like, what's that? Ain't it off like the coast of China, or there's like certain places like close to China where like off the coast, if you can see like the coast of like California and stuff. You know,
I
but
think so.
but basically you're gonna be able to see from all that distance away. You're gonna be able to see the smoke rising. You know. And then even if you can't see it in person, it's gonna be on the news. So everybody's gonna see this destruction. And you can read that verse 19 as well, Kawashab.
Gone. Like, yeah, we were in
Revelation 18, verse 19.
Gone. Revelation 18, verse 19. It says, And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness.
Hmm.
1 hour she made desolate.
Yeah. Hey, even this deal that they making with Israel right now is an example of this. They spending over $1 trillion. Israel about to get so much money, but
Hmm.
this is just a testament to how other countries be eating off America.
Hmm.
Yeah, these countries could get mad, Trump putting all these tariffs on them and whatnot, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if America was destroyed, they'd be hurt. It's just like if you got a woman, she'll give you all them problems, she'll be nagging at you, all this and that. But if she left, you'd be like, all right,
Yeah.
we ain't have to go that far. You could read that Jeremiah 50 and 46 now, we're talking about.
God,
All right. It says in verse 46,
Mhm.
at the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations.
Yeah, this is gonna be massive. It's just like when you read about Rome, and it's like all the nations of the earth knew like how great Rome was. And for Rome to fall, that changes the whole dichotomy of the world. And that goes for anything. That's like if in the NFL, if they just erase the Chiefs from the NFL. Like that would be massive. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Chiefs, yep. But nah, like it's that's crazy. It's like if LeBron just suddenly just got injured. The whole team gonna change. Which that's kind of a bad analogy. I'm talking something that changes the whole league. Even if you're an enemy, it's like, man, like now we about to get less viewership, but that's how it's gonna be when America falls. So let's get Isaiah chapter 13. Yeah, let's get Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17.
This is Isaiah 13 verse 17. It says the subtitle says Babylon will fall to the Medes.
Hmm.
All right, so verse 17 says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it."
And those Medes is talking about the Russians. Again, this is just different names for the Russians. And it says that they shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. This goes back into what we was reading in Ezekiel when it says that the Lord shall put hooks into their jaws. Because what I'm talking about with the nations of this earth, you know, if they got a bad relationship with America or not, they still wouldn't dare, destroy it. It's like that'd be crazy. But the Lord is gonna put the spirit in Russia to where they ain't gonna care. It is gonna get to a breaking point to where they gonna be the ones to finally pull the trigger and you know erase this devil's empire.
Yeah. It says, "Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children."
And these bows that it's speaking about is ain't literal bows. This is talking about the missiles.
Mm-hmm.
Because when a missile blows up a place, it's like if you're there, you're dead. Man, woman, child, any status of it don't matter.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying they want to dash the young men to pieces. They should have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes should not spare children. Because if you're in that blast radius, you cook.
Con, I got a precept for you.
Baba Gusha.
This is Second Ezra 16 and verse 13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow.
Hmm.
His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world.
So what arrow is getting shot all across the world? It's impossible. But there is but when you understand that these arrows, these bows is talking about the missiles, then you see that's why it's called what an ICBM or intercontinental ballistic missile. Which it goes from continent to continent. It goes all across the world. We're talking about I see you, bro.
Uh,
But yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and this is showing that these are the Lord's weapons. It's the Lord that put the spirit, like it says, I created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. The Lord put the spirit on, the German scientists, and the people who was responsible for creating the first nuke. It was the Lord that, put the spirit on men to create this weapon. Even though it's gonna be physically, a man, men who push the buttons to launch the missiles, it's the Lord putting the spirit on them to launch the missiles. Because this is the Lord's will taking place. We can get back to the Isaiah. Unless there was more to that second Ezra. Is there more to it?
Con, there's a little bit more. It
Okay.
says up to verse 15. But continuing on, it says in verse 14, Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall
Mhm.
not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and this fire from these missiles is gonna burn and burn for a very long time. Is but before it dies down. That's why I said before that if you in a bunker here, it doesn't matter because it's gonna burn the foundation of the earth. It's gonna dig into that ground some with how great this destruction gonna be. You know. So let's read that Isaiah.
God. It says back in Isaiah 13 verse 19. It says, "In Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah."
How was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed? Fire and brimstone from heaven.
Yep. It shall never be inhabited, and neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there.
So once
For
America is destroyed, this place is just going to be a monument. Is no one's ever going to set foot here ever again. And it's people going to tell stories about America. America is going to go to just like we talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. And now Sodom and Gomorrah is like a a memorial of sorts of wickedness. You know, we talk about how they was wilding and what happened for how they was wilding. And that's how America's gonna be. It's gonna be like, man, they was doing this there. It's gonna be like, what? When we telling our children they they was dressing like what?
Con,
You know, you're gonna tell them they was, you know, like it's this is gonna be a testament to wickedness.
I was gonna say, like, also how I just came across an article the other day talking about how two men now can have a baby through science, through these, technology and shit. And it's like, are we
That's
almost
so
out of here
bugged out.
yet? Like,
Yeah, that's so bugged out, bro.
wow.
And then on top of that, you got the the evils that was done to the nation of Israel here. You
Yeah.
know, that's just another more reasons upon many on why this place needs to go.
Yeah, like it says in the book of Numbers, where it says, you shall not pollute the land, Numbers 35:33. It says, so ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
Con, go ahead up.
Yeah, just going into how, that's why this judgment is going to be so great. Because look at what they did to the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, the transatlantic slave trade, the Spanish conquest. Brother Atazwan bring it up a lot. The Trail of Tears, different things that they have done and continue to do to this day. That's why this destruction is going to be so great. And like it says in the scriptures about how the third part of men is going to be killed, it's talking about the sons of the wicked, which are the Edomites, man. And it's going to be through the destruction of America, their headquarters, that their whole empire is going to be taken down, as a recompense for what they did to the Israelites.
Con, Con, let's finish that Isaiah out.
Son, back in Isaiah 13:21. But wild beasts of the desert shall be lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there.
There's, you know, them the wild beasts and you know the satires. Let's read verse 22 as well, Baba Kusha.
And the wild beasts of the island shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant places. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged.
So it's talking about, you know, different desert creatures, you know, lizards, you know what I'm saying, vultures, you know, all, uh, like I said, dragons there. Like that's why like you got the Komodo dragon, which is a type of lizard. You know, that's the type of animals that's gonna be here. And it's crazy because like it's very poetic because America is gonna go from this great land, the greatest, you know, country to ever, you know, be upon this earth. And then it's just gonna be whittled down to tumbleweeds blowing through here. And like you ain't even gonna be able to tell that there was a place here in the first, you know, at all. It's like the Lord is really just going to control, alt, delete everything, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I got a preset for you real quick.
Come.
This is um this is the book of so I where to go. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 19. It says, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. You
Come, go
know,
ahead up.
and going back into like what that brother brought out in Numbers, along with what the brothers just speaking on, that's why that's exactly why America is going to be the house of tumbleweeds. Is because you touched the children of the nation of Israel, and in between, you've done a lot of wickedness to the earth and against the Heavenly Father. So everything that's coming as far as judgment is concerned for America is very much merited, man. But yeah, you got it, brother. I just wanted to make that quick statement.
Come. Did we got that Ciroc 8 yet?
Con, I got Sirach 8. Sirach 8 and 15. It says, travail not by the way with a bold fellow, lest he become grievous unto thee, for he will do according to his own will, and thou shalt perish with him through his folly.
So bringing it all the way back to, you know, to the point that we began with. America is backing Israel through all this war, this folly, these evils that they doing. And again, the same way that America is backing them and being at they beck and call, giving them all this money, giving them all this defense, all these weapons, they gonna take share in an immense destruction. And while America is gonna be wiped out to never be inhabited again, Israel's destruction, the land of Israel's destruction is just gonna serve as a cleansing. It has to be wiped away so that all the evil that's been done there, all the desecration to that holy land can be cleansed, and then it's going to be rebuilt, and our kingdom is going to be established, the hub of our kingdom is going to be established in that land because we're going to rule over this whole earth. Our rule is going to, you know, surpass just this earth. We're going to be going to different planets with it, but the land of Israel is going to be the heart of it, you know. So You know, that's the point of the lesson. The brothers have anything else?
Uh,
Wow.
Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Once again, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harkadash. Want to give double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops of GMS, and a salutation unto the elect. Shalom.
Shalom.